Let's check if my share entire screen. Okay, awesome. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. We are into module 3. Time goes fast. I can't believe we already finished 2 week and we are into week 3. Thanks for joining again, because some of you, I can see familiar faces now. It takes consistency, right? To do anything meaningful in life and to learn anything, it requires consistency. It doesn't work if you are not able to take it, learn, practice, and it's not just kind of in this 1 hour class. And that's where I'll give you, an idea of what you should be kind of practicing offline, right? So quick recap, just to see, in the module 1 we started with kind of the very high level. What is these LLMs, and then what is different form of AI. In module 2, we went, I would say, not too deep, and because I want to make sure we are building foundation slowly, and then you are able to see how the progress is happening. And it is the same approach for today as well. And I think if you look at the title of today's module, it's like, hey, I'm not from technical background, or I haven't coded in my life. How can I use this AI? So that's what we will go into. So, but to reach to that state, we need to start building some little bit of more understanding, some more vocabulary, and then so I'll start there. So here's the plan for today. So 3 things. We will start building a little bit of more vocabulary, and I'll try to make it as practical as possible by, let's say, taking, when we say tokenization, what tokenization means. So I'll show you in a visual format. When we are saying a model is training, what training means, so that then we will look at that. And then half of the class, I plan to spend about 20-25 minutes just to show how I use it. And in other words, as like, you should then look into those examples and reflect back then how you can start using it more and more. Okay, we will wrap up with some key takeaways and some ideas about how you can do self-practice throughout the week. All right, so let me go full screen, and we are recording, so we should be good. Before we go into, here's a quick quiz for you. Which has more calories? I know the reason I'm throwing the quiz for you, because it's, sometimes AI learning can get very heavy. So it's not a trick question. If you have 2 glasses in front of you, in one glass you have orange juice, and in one glass you have cola. Pick whatever cola you like, Coke, or tell me which one has more calories. I want to check your, put in the comments, and you just say one name, and then I will see what's okay. So regular cola, okay. RK is cola. All right. Yeah, let's say regular cola. Let's go there. Okay, I'm looking into the chat. Ankit is saying same. Juice. Okay, so last 5 seconds. Let's get some more. I want to see the pattern, and because we are building some AI understanding, and we are also building some of the health-related understanding. Orange juice. Okay, so here's the thing. If you take a regular cola and a glass of orange juice, just from the calorie standpoint, orange juice has more calories, right? But then the question becomes, if I have both of them in front of me, which one should I pick? Which one should I drink? And I think that's the real decision, and that's the kind of real decision also when you learn AI. There are so many tools, so many large language models, and then the question is, which one should I select? So that's the rationale of having this question. So in my case, I will pick orange juice, even though it has more calories. You may ask why, because it has some health benefit. It has vitamin C. It has some fiber if I haven't, used the right juicer. So I think sometimes it's not about like, hey, should I use OpenAI or Gemini and others? You should look for the kind of work you are doing, and then which one you want to be using more frequently, and build that as a habit so that it becomes part of your job or daily workflow. Okay, so make good choices and pick juice wherever possible rather than the cola. All right, how many of you remember this slide? And I will use this slide a couple of more time. So if you recall, we were talking about like, hey, we have the internet, kind of the knowledge, right? All the websites, the Wikipedia, and then all the YouTube, and you name it. And then what we were talking about, there was a architecture breakthrough in LLM, large language model, come to life. I think 2 years ago. That's when the real magic happened. And as a result of that magic is you see this right-hand side box. Think of, this is a kind of ChatGPT, but think of any kind of model here. This is your AI brain. Now, how the kind of, just to, if you want to picture what that AI brain looks like, this is just a zip file, right? And if you work on a computer, you have, a lot of files in your computer, and then you can, this is all the knowledge, text knowledge compressed into a one file blob, okay? So whenever you think about model, think of it as a zip file. And this is your AI brain. I mean, the form of models that we use today, and I think we were looking at this to show you, if you go to, let's say, Hugging Face, and if you start to look into models here, right, on my screen, you will see all the list of models that people, let me go here, right? So these are all the models, okay? So now you can download any model, because, for example, if I want to see DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek R1, it has more close to, 4.5 million downloads now, right? So if you can go in there, I can download this, I can run locally if I have enough CPU and memory in my laptop. Or you can run it on a more powerful servers and GPUs, and then, right? But essentially what it is a file that where it's a set of weights that build understanding of all the written text in the human history, or at least the one that is freely available on the internet. Okay, so the different size of these files that you might find, it starts from 1 GB to 5 GB to terabytes of big files, right? So, and logically speaking, the bigger the kind of that knowledge, that the compression is, usually it's more intelligence from the broad spectrum standpoint. But then people are also building these domain-specific models, which are smaller. I would say somewhere around 10 billion parameters, or 10 billion kind of the size will be less. I think you should look into how many billions of parameters it has. And the best way to think about parameter is when it is going through this process, we'll talk about a little bit of more, it is compressing that understanding into a set of parameters. Okay, so if we look into kind of the start from there, we have many options right now. It's not just only OpenAI or GPT. There are many players in the market today. We have closed source models, we have open source models. If you look into 10 of them here, and then there's of course all these big companies are building it out. Google Gemini, Meta is building their Llama models, and then there's a lot of good startup, right? So I'll not spend too much time on this. I think the key takeaway, if you from here, is that these models are a compressed knowledge. It's stored into sort of a file. I'll keep using that analogy. And then many companies have built it because internet is free. And now once you have a recipe, right, once you start to make a good dish, and then if you share on the internet, many other people will build. So that's what happened in the last 2 years. Now everybody's building this and trying to sell it to their customers, and then to you, me, or even enterprise customers. Okay. I closely follow OpenAI, what's happening in there. So just to get a sense of how fast these companies are trying to move. And so, in fact, on this screen, you're not even seeing, GPT-2, GPT-3. So if you go into, let's say, into your ChatGPT window, you will see this list of models here, right? These models is what basically most of them are free. There are some they are kind of packaging into the pricing. And to see what pricing you have, you basically click on wherever you are. Like in case if you want to see, hey, what's the pricing for Gemini? What's the pricing for ChatGPT? So they have two plans, $20 and then $200. But you don't have to pay all of this because they also have this free, right? Because in the free model also, you will have a bunch of these different reasoning models and non-reasoning models. Okay, but where it's going is, I think more and more, every company will try to unify them, because in any product you go today, let's look at one more. If you go to Gemini, which is from Google, you have the same problem, right? And as a user now, like, which one should I use? And this naming is pretty bad, and because these is like specifically OpenAI naming is so bad. It's like what O1 means, like, and you have to remember that this is for reasoning. But when you are talking to this AI, you should know what kind of questions you are asking, and you pick the right model. But that's a lot of overhead to me as a user. So that's where this roadmap, the slide I have, OpenAI is saying, hey, we will combine that so that you don't have to do a lot of selections and make it easier for you. And the same model will support text, will support image, will support video, and all of that. Okay. So let's quickly look at all these kind of, the 4 or 5. Of course, I have my favorite. I'll tell you what's kind of my tool stack look like down the line. This is what I use. But let's spend a couple of minutes into looking into what are the differences between these models and then what's available to us today. Okay. So just from the pricing standpoint, I think $20 is the common. So that's why I say you can have the best AI brain into your pocket in $20, even if you're paying for some, let's say, the pro subscription. The second thing is, when you are, let's say, if I start a new chat, so what happens here is now the AI is ready for my prompt, for my question, and I can, let's say, usually, just to give an idea, let's say I want to know how many calories, we were talking about orange juice, right? How many calories are there in a freshly squeezed orange juice? Let's see. Okay. Orange juice. So you will have like these kind of query. You can ask into Google also, but I think the main difference we will see is that there's, even if you make typo, they takes care of that. That's not a problem. But then like a typical 8 ounce has freshly squeezed roughly let's say 110. If it's more from the storage, then they will add more sugar. But anyway, you get the idea. The key thing in here is when I put this question, all of this goes into a context window of that brain. And think of context window as a horizontal line. Okay. And when you ask the question, now it is into the memory of that AI. And when I ask a follow-up question, and the good thing is all these models, they also suggest, hey, based on your first question, here is your follow-up question. Either I can use this, or I can now, like, let's say, compare it with apple juice, for example. Okay. The key thing to notice here is what's happening is, as long as I'm into the same kind of chats window, this models are remembering what's happening into that, and their context window is now getting bigger and bigger. So, which means that you can have a lot of back and forth. In the previous version of LLM, like about a year ago, that context window was small, like in 32K in terms of size. And the one way to kind of visualize this is it's something like this. So this diagram is from one of the kind of the great guy I follow is Andres Karapety, and he basically is like, hey, think of this token window is as a long kind of the full sequence, and then anytime you're asking questions, they are getting stored in here, and that's how this model knows that this is a follow-up questions, and then this is. But here's one tip you should kind of use more often is sometime if see the question I'm asking into this chat window is about juices, and then AI is building understanding and it'll give me more. But if all of a sudden I want to change a topic to, let's say, who went to the moon first, okay, I can ask it, and then the AI will try to adjust it, right? Who was the first person on the moon, right? It's a completely different topic. So it is always a good idea when you make such a drastic shift. And this was okay, but if you ask, because this is kind of a fact, right? LLM have no problem in finding it out. It's always a good idea to start a new chat, okay? Because when you do a new chat, your context length is empty, and it is not mixing it up from the multiple cross topic. And then, so anytime you're not getting good responses from your model, one thing is we talked about in last class is you should learn how to create better prompt. Second mistake to avoid is don't cram all different kind of prompt into one window. I mean, you start a new one fresh, right? Specifically a new topic or anything. You should start anew, because now if you see all of it is kind of fitting in, right? And the more the related conversations you will have, you will find this AI is more helpful to you. Okay. And that's true across all these models, where we look into Gemini, whether we look into Claude, for example. If I start a new chat, all of them have this new chat. And one I think key takeaway from this one for you is have the related conversations into the same session. And then whenever you're changing a topic, start a new one, okay? Don't just kind of keep running, because what will happen is, see, LLM is, end of the day, it's a token prediction machine. And then if you have a lot of different types of token, your quality of responses will degrade, okay? So let's learn one more concept, because I've been talking about tokens quite a lot. What token means, right? Because in this one also, when we say token, what happens? At a very high level, so if you ask a prompt to LLM, your text is tokenized. It converted into basically a math string, because end of the day, AI is math behind the scene. But how do you visualize, right? Without I think being technical, the best way to visualize that is, let's say, you go to, let's say, any of this tokenizer. I'm using OpenAI, but I think it doesn't matter. So if you say, in this tokenizer, there are a bunch of apps that, Hugging Face also has it. And then let's say here, and if you type, let's say, a similar question, what I had in my previous one, who went to the moon first? Okay. So what you will see is this text is equivalent to 7 tokens, because it is breaking it up into chunks. This is a text, it's converted into mathematical kind of a string, right? If you know, like, hey, the computer works in the form of zeros and ones. So that's basically kind of what's happening. And now you wonder why 7 token, why not, let's say 30 or 50? So there is basically a logic behind it. And then, but I would say don't worry about that, as long as you visually a little bit of understand, like, okay, what token means is whenever it's taking my, my input, it is breaking that into these, for example, these are the 7 tokens. It's showing me in the color also, who is 1 token, when is 1 token, then 2 is 1 token. It's not always like word by word. If I give a lot of text, then it will literally kind of cram that into. So for example, let's do this. I'll copy the same text, and let's see how many tokens are there, right? So now it's total 281 characters. But then if you convert that into token, that's where, and each token has one ID. So if I click on this is basically the ID. So this is what these, when I say this GIF file, it's literally has those numbers behind the scene, right? This let's say if you want to visualize this. So that's what basically the tokenization. Tokenization is done at both ends. It takes your prompt tokenized, and then also the model, when response comes back, it comes into token, and then it converted back into your language, which is English, right? That's what we see on the screen. Okay, so couple of things, right? One is if I recap that this model is trained, there's different types of models. These will converge. This is how it works. Let's talk about two more things, and then I'll pause for questions. There is a concept of training and pre-training. So this is how these models are built, right? When this zip file. So what happens into this process, for example? So let's learn 3 more terms, because they, if you will see them everywhere on the internet. And then one is concept of pre-training. So pre-training it's basically you take the vast amount of internet text, and then you go through the deep learning. So that's basically the pre-training is. This is usually done by, I would say that people who are building LLM from scratch. But many people, right, I was showing you Hugging Face, is like, hey, why these 4 million people, what are they doing with this model? So they're not doing pre-training, they will be doing post-training. So pre-training is the first time you build it out like the from scratch, but then there is the post-training stage, if I add it in here. So post-training is you take some additional data and then you feed in that knowledge to the model. Let's say you might say, hey, can I take DeepSeek and can I train this into my company data? So then you will have to go through the kind of post-training and optimization. Another kind of term that gets used is fine-tuning. So I would say fine-tuning is even a more kind of smaller stage, where you are just literally giving 20 to 30 examples. But the main goal is same, that you want to feed in more knowledge to your model so that it starts to answer your question. Okay, so training, we talked about tokenization, right? So this is what looking at what tokenization means. It takes your text, convert into, and then think of these are your kind of tokens. Another term is inference. Okay, so there are 2 things that happen. When I ask the question to, let's say, any of the window here, let's say, hey, who are you? Let's say, for example. Okay, so I'm asking AI, who are you? Tell me, so that I know. So as you can see, it very quickly told me I'm Claude, an AI assistant, and then. So now the 2 things happened. One is that the model has knowledge about, during the training phase, right? And that's how it cleared. Then there's an inferencing phase. So inferencing phase is when this text is generated. So that's what inferencing means, that it is at the runtime. It is when it took your question and now it is giving back the answer. Okay. So let's take a pause and see if you have questions from these, and then I'll show you a bunch of other examples. But it's important to build understanding of these 4 or 5 concepts. What is AI model? What is large language model? How they are trained at a very high level. I mean, you see, you don't have to really learn the training technique, but when you hear the word training or when you hear the word inferencing, then you should conceptually be able to have a picture in your mind. This is what the step we are talking here. Okay, so let's take 2 minutes and unmute yourself. And if you have question, so RK, your question is, what is the neural network in practical? Yeah, so neural network is, think of, if I go back to this slide, this is your the representation of neural network. It's just like how our brain is, because our brain also has kind of neurons, and that's where the term neural network came from. So now what we did, people who are building this, is they created that neuron using computers, right? They created the model, and then it goes through the training. It takes the data, and then it's basically finding the patterns. So I think the best way to see this is whenever you hear about like neural network training, so you give a lot of data, and then it keeps seeing all the data and try to see what pattern is emerging and then learn from that pattern. Okay. How the context window is defined based on the 5-word sentence. So see, the overall context window is pretty long, right? So let's ask AI, right? So any question you ask me, I'll ask AI. So it's good to build that practice, right? So for example, what is the context length of top 5 LLMs? Okay. So if you see here, we should quickly get this response, and it's kind of but main things to keep in mind is this response might be wrong, because see, this is a token prediction machine, and that's where you in some cases you have to go back and check whenever you are in doubt. I'll talk about more, right? Whether you take this response at its face value or the avoid how to avoid those types of mistakes. This was not helpful. So give me in a table format, because I don't want to read it, right? I want AI to do the work for me. So because if it's in table format, I'll be able to quickly see, right? So now I don't have to read, right? So this is another tip. You ask AI, which format do you want, right? And then now if you see, Gemini has a pretty big token kind of overall, right? How much it can fit into that one array, right? Let's say I was showing this diagram. So how long this is, so that's what your total context length is, okay? But the one thing you will notice is if I go back in here, this is the total, how many basically total kilobytes of it can fit in. So this is 128K token, GPT-4o. Claude, I think also have a 128 is very standard now, because and then so what that means is if I take a large text on the internet and I copy all of that, can it fit into the memory? So context window and context length is the memory, the size of the memory that this AI model has. Okay. Now, how does it kind of break it up? This is kind of another model, right? There's different models, how it breaks it up. So read it up. I would say I'll not spend more time. You can ask in here as well. So figure it out by yourself. Every company have their own tokenizer model, and the tokenizer model is what's kind of breaking it up into why not 50, for example? Because this is OpenAI, and if I take the same text and if I put into Hugging Face, for example, let's say, quickly try this out. Where is the input window? Anyway, I mean, see, not so important, because even if it's a 50, as long as the both end, if you are using the same tokenizer, you don't have to worry. Okay. Are we good so far? Give me a thumbs up. And are you guys with me? All good? Is it helpful? All right, I'm switching to sitting to stand. Another health tip. Keep switching, keep moving, stay active. Okay, so let's look into some of the. I think I have some more, but I think see, in every class, if you continue to build these like new vocabulary and then the understanding as we go, then you will be in a good shape at the end of 7th week. Okay, so we will look into some more examples, how I use it, right? As you can see, I had all the tabs pinned into my browser. And I'll show you a couple of examples, and then also tell you the go charge and then issues that these models have. and how I work around it, right? Because that's super important to learn how to use AI. If you remember in the first class, I was saying that, hey, it's not that AI will replace your job. It's the people who know AI or who know how to use AI will replace, right? And that's kind of a very common pattern I'm seeing right now. So the key thing, I think the second part of learning today is how to basically figure it out what's tool to use. My default is I use ChatGPT quite a lot, because I think they still have the kind of best model, and I'll tell you some challenges there. Another one is Claude. I use that as well. For searching, I use Perplexity. For learning, I use NotebookLM. Okay. Are you guys ready to see how I use it? A little bit of more, not just the high level example, but I'll show you actual how I use it and how it helps me to become more productive. Okay. So let's basically, the one thing is all these AI models have a lot of features, right? As we can see, and that's where it gets very overwhelming. One is this model selection, then what's available in free, what's available in a pro mode. Each of them are different. Another one that came to the race is Grok. And if you can see, Grok also has now latest model. They call it Grok 3, which is smartest one. But here is I think the input window everybody has same. But then if you look into some of the options that each of these solutions have, they are different. Okay, or at least the invocation of those actions and how you should use, they are different. One thing I like, let's start from Grok. This window is open, and then I'll go back to other one, right? So I like Grok for two reasons. So one is it has these two modes, deep search and think. If I don't pick any of them, and if I just type, let's say, my question in here, let's say, okay, so let me go back to, I think I have a couple of examples. I'll pick from here, copy paste to go fast. So let's say I want to do, I have vacation coming up and I want to figure out, I don't know where to go. And I want AI to help me. Okay, summer vacations are coming. I'm thinking about where can I take my kids. And so I can start it as broad as cool cities to go in summer, for example, right? If I don't select anything, let's see. And we will also see which AI is working better. So I'll paste the same questions in all four, and let's see. Because it's important to understand the differences and then what they will give, the output formats they give you. So let's go into all four. Okay, and fresh window, because this is my new conversation. And I'll enter here, and let's say I'll enter here. So the question is, if all the models are trained onto the same internet data, hopefully, you will see there's kind of a lot of differences and how these models, some models will right away give you the answer. Other models will ask you, oh, tell me more, right? If your question is not. So let's compare the results of two of them. Okay, so here Grok is like, if you're looking for a cool city to visit in summer, how about Iceland, right? Because and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then plus nearly 24 hours of daylight in June, July. So it's giving me more like what sort of criteria. Now, one thing I can do is I can ask like, hey, this is my criteria. Iceland is not a good one, and you can go along. But let's look at what Gemini think about this one. If I put in here, so looks like the two things they are agreeing on, Iceland. But if you see, right, Gemini response is better. It gives me rather than bunching everything into one paragraph in here. So that's kind of the, ease of use. Here, it's giving me Iceland, Vancouver, Canada, San Francisco, and some reasons for kind of all of them, right? Let's check it one more, right? So if we come in here, okay. So ChatGPT thinks instead of Iceland, first priority, I mean, first one is Canada. Not too bad, right? Because the temperature here is 68. and very nicely formatted. And then also it makes it more visual, like the country flags and then all that. So that's the difference between all these companies, because the region ChatGPT is much more polished, is it's been around for 2 years and they have iterated, they have a lot more feature rich. But all the others, Grok is kind of new kid in the town, relatively speaking, and then they will also kind of try to catch up across. How do we give better, like understand what you are asking and then give you the better answer, okay? And then look into the details, right? I always go to, let's say this is their premium mode, but if you go into, let's say, settings, they also talk about kind of pricing and whatnot. So I think Grok pricing is, if I refresh, I think there is $30, I believe. So this one is Perplexity. So this is the last one. Okay, let's check what Perplexity thinks. And then, so good thing about Perplexity is it always structure your output response into this, I call it a research format. No matter what you ask, it will give you a short summary on the top, and then it will give you the list of nicely formatted bullet point in there. The another good thing is it also gives me sources, and that's why Perplexity is so popular, or became popular, is if I go into these models, this response is coming from the GIF file, what that was part of the training. But in case of Perplexity, they are searching the internet. Where is the window? This one. And they are not just giving response from the model, just like Google search, but instead of giving you the blue link, it is giving you basically the same thing, right? So let's take a look, right? So what it did, it looked at these five plus sources, and then if I go back to this window in here, what it did was it went to those websites, grab all the HTMLs, converted that HTML into text data, dump that text data into this token window, and then the question I was asking, where should I go in summer, right? And then basically it gives me the most up-to-date information, and then based on the sources, it's not just making up. I can verify it whether my response is correct or not. I can, let's say, click on any of this citation. See, this line came from this article. So that's why I think the key takeaway here is, if you're looking for most up-to-date information and based on the facts, right, then you need to pick a product out of these which gives you citation. Otherwise, the challenge with the other without citation is that you might get a completely wrong answer if you just copy paste and use it in an important meeting, you will sound like foolish. So that's one mistake to avoid. Check so the question is, step back and then, do I need up-to-date information? Do I need to search? Do I need to research? Or is just I'm searching for a fact? And then you go to the right tool. You might hear about like AGI and whatnot. I think when AGI hits, then probably all these challenges will go away. I'm hoping one day we will have a model that is, can do all 3-4 things. It can search the internet. It can give me the knowledge, and then in whatever format I want. Okay. So, and then typically, if you think about, I think the one thing to note on this one is the cost of, I was talking about pre-training and training. The cost of training is I would say, can go up to hundreds of millions of dollars. Pre-training is smaller. And then post-training is kind of fine-tuning is even kind of smaller, right? So if you're just wondering, why some of these companies are so highly valued, so it's important to kind of see. Okay, so a couple of more example. Let's see. I'll pick one more use case. If you're looking for an advice, right? So if you're like, hey, and of course, these models are surprisingly good at medical advice, but validate, right? Don't just kind of consume anything that tells you. But then you can basically take any nutrition label or and then ask like, hey, what do you think about it? Does it have good ingredients? Or let's say if I take this question as an example, and let's see what my AI doctor uh, tells me. So blah blah blah. It tells me what's basically it's related to cold and viral, and then I can have the kind of follow up. I use it kind of this way less. Sometimes what I use it is, let's say I got my blood results, and then I say like, hey, what do you think? And then I compare with my doctor advice, and so that this becomes your always kind of second opinion and the best opinion. I think if you use the deep research part, let's talk about deep research for a second, because that's an important, right? As we were looking into, right. So let's go to Grok, and then you see this feature as deep research. Let's say I want to do a very detailed research about, let's say we are on kind of this medical topic, right? Which toothpaste is best for long-term health? Okay, because I'm confused. There's a lot of debate on the internet. You should use the kind of the salt toothpaste, or you should use the fluoride or whatever. I need a very deep research, just like a consultant would do. And now I'll pick this as highlight. If I highlight this, so what's happening is behind the scene, you have these different models, right? So for example, if I go to Gemini, and if I have to do, let me refresh this. I think they only give it into the pro mode, but Perplexity has free deep research. So let's try that. Okay, so we'll test two of them quickly. So again, I'll start a new chat. I'll do in here, and I had to pick up deep research, and I'll say go. Now the key difference is it's not giving me the knowledge or answer that it has. It is going through all the sources, and it is planning it out, and you can see what's happening here, right? So it's saying this is my goal, and then it is reading these many websites. So it's super fun, and for me, I always enjoy like what this AI is doing behind the scene. And these days, they show you what's happening. And so now it's kind of found more articles, and it's kind of reading. The same thing is, let's see what Grok is doing. If I say go, so in fact, Grok is making a task list onto the left-hand side. It's exploring all the options, and then right-hand side is what all the information it's getting, right? So think of it broken that into set of tasks, and then it's getting all the knowledge and then breaking it up. But it's not done yet. See, it's doing all the homework, all the background work. Ultimately, the best part of deep search is it will give me a very professional looking final report. Super useful for complex topics. If you want to learn about, a new area like science and space or anything, I would say don't just use the. If you have a quick question, don't do the deep research, because it takes time and then it consumes tokens from your account. Okay, so here's basically the response from this one for the deep research feature. And now if you compare it with, let's say, okay, sorry, I have too many windows here. And let's look at the Perplexity. I think Perplexity timed out, which happens often, but I think it completed. If I see the comprehensive benefit of choosing, and then it's a very comprehensive, long, when you want to go deep into a subject, that's where I think this deep research feature is super, super helpful. Okay. Summarization, I think we talked about it. I use it, let's say, for learning. Let's say if I have, let's say, Ankit, you are here, right? I shared the kind of Data Cloud report. Now, if you want to really understand Data Cloud fast, you can take that file, upload into in here, and then learn about Data Cloud. So, for example, let's see if I have a Data Cloud file. Okay. So, and usually the bigger kind of the files and PDFs are, that's where you will get the most benefit out of it. And it's simple. All these basically the windows now. Let's say if I go to new, they have this attach button. Okay. So quickly talking about the common feature across all of these, you can attach a file. And then what happens is when you upload the file, it's the same thing. What do I mean by that? It goes to the same freaking in here, the context kind of length window. So anything you are asking, any file you're providing, it goes into the memory and remembers it. So when you ask question, it will respond by using that information into the context. So that's where I think don't like, okay, what about file? When should I upload it? It's pretty simple. If I want AI to account for data that I have, then I will go and upload it. But be careful, don't upload any of your personal stuff. Don't upload your any PII information. Another feature all of these have is take a screenshot. You click on this. Let's say I think this might mess up my sharing window, but you get the idea. You have, in fact, if you load up all of these tools into the phone, the mobile app even has more features. And then because now mobile has, of course, camera and audio and a lot more. And so then, the voice mode is better. And then there's two types of voice mode in there. One is you can speak to it. So for example, let's say if we go to, let me close this one. So let's say if I go to a new chat here, I can speak to it using voice mode, okay? But this one don't have the transcription. But if I go to the app, so let's do a quick demo. So I'll go to ChatGPT app and I'll show my phone. Hope you can see. So here I have two buttons versus on laptop I only have one. So one is this small speaker icon. So if I say, hey, how are you doing today? So the difference between the first one is literally taking my voice, converting it into text. And then I use this as a lot because, it is faster and then I don't have to type that long. But then from that point on, it's a text conversation between you and these large language models. Voice mode is basically your voice is going into the same token. There's no conversion. It basically takes the voice and then now these models understand the voice conversation. And it's pretty funny. If you have time, play with the Grok. It's the funniest because they have less guardrails and different modes. So I was playing it last week. So just to give you a quick demo. So I'll go to Grok. So by the way, what we are talking now is some of these multimodalities, right? From this screen, right? We talked about deep search, we talked about file upload. I'll talk about artifact in a second, but let's quickly look into these different modalities, okay? So in the Grok, I have let's say storyteller as one. So what I can do is I pick storyteller, okay?
Great. Before I dive into weaving a tale for you, I'd love to know what kind of story you're in the mood for. Do you want an epic fantasy adventure with dragons and magic? A gripping sci-fi journey across the stars?
No, sorry, listen, it's Saturday morning. I just finished my workout. Tell me a great story to cool down.
Got it. Since it's Saturday morning and you're fresh off a workout, I'll spin you a story that's energizing yet relaxing. A tale that'll let you cool
okay,
down.
hang on. Can you be a little bit more nice, just like slow and romantic?
Of course, I'd be delighted to soften the tone for you. Since it's a peaceful.
No, still not good. Be a little bit of more romantic, please.
My apologies for not quite hitting the mark yet. I'll weave you a story drenched in romance, tender and slow, perfect for unwinding.
Okay, so you get the idea. I think how powerful now I think this multimodality is. It handles interruptions. It's I can ask it to take whatever role. Like I was saying, be a little bit more romantic, or depends on your use case. Good for learning and then and it's like so natural. They can pick different voices, and you're seeing. I think the OpenAI was in trouble when they use Scarlett voice, and then. But anyway, the key thing is you can in fact train it onto your voice. I tried that. It was not good, so I deleted. But I try to train it in my voice. Okay, so let's wrap up. I'm looking at the clock, and probably we'll catch up on some of these things in next one, because this artifact is a great feature in Claude, and we'll talk about some of the scenarios that how you can create different kind of diagrams and concepts, and really brainstorming with AI. I want to leave a few minutes for questions because I got to run. I would say I'll probably end 2 minutes early. Okay, so hope this was helpful. Let's see. Unmute yourself and let's spend some time in questions. All right. What do you think? Which was new? Anything that we covered today? I'm sure some of you, some pieces you have tried. What did you learn, Vijay, today? I'm putting you on the spot. Okay, token and context learning. Okay.
I would say the comparison between different models and what kind of results it gives you, how they go about, like basically the prescriptions and everything, how to go about going around the world and what resources they are looking at.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? What did you learn today? Ramesh, Veer, what did you learn?
Yeah, if I can say something, Manjit, Ramesh here.
Yeah, Ramesh.
Yeah, it was nice to understand, like, how we can use different AI tools for different purposes, like the way you explained how Perplexity does it completely differently compared to Claude and Grok. That is one learning for me. So I'm going to right now I'm using everything, using ChatGPT for everything, almost everything, and sometimes Gemini.
Right.
This is helpful. I'll try things differently now that I'm already.
Yeah, no, that's important because I call it, this is, these tools are my AI counsel. I don't trust any of them, but I'll get feedback from others. But what happens is, based on the job task you do, you'll realize that, hey, this one is mostly better, and then you go to that first, so that you save time.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Krishna, what did you learn?
Manjit, it was really good to understand how you kind of look at these different tools and your usage patterns, generally speaking.
Mhm.
I also had a question about the whole tokenizer experience that you were showing.
Right.
What is the advantage in understanding what are all the token ideas? I just feel like it is so deep into the weeds of the AI, how it is probably inferencing and all that. How do we, as a end user,